Welcome back to Wittenberg Academy's Greek 1 course. We're in the midst of Lesson 3. Last tape was getting long, so we're going to now do the translations in Chapter 3 and also talk about how to translate. How do all these things fit together? And so let's take a look here at Sentence 2. Sentence 1 was just a random saying, logon, sophon, of wise words, anthropu, agathu, of a good man. Number 2, though, is a real sentence. Ha doulos huion eke sophon. The first thing you want to do when you're translating in Greek is look for the verb. So can you find the verb in this sentence? Ha doulos huion eke sophon. The verb is eke. How do you know it's a verb? Well, you should have learned a vocabulary word, echo, and you know that you know what kind of endings go on verbs. And that a ending, eke, that's a verbal ending that you've learned. What ending is it? It's the third person singular ending for the present indicative active. So third person singular, he, she, or it, present tense, indicative active voice. We're not learning passive voice or anything right now, but it means he has. He has. Now, who has? Who's doing the having? Well, you're looking for a subject for the verb. Subjects in Greek are denoted by the nominative case. So the first thing you look for is a verb. And then you translate that verb. You make sure you know what the verb is. So eke, you know that's present indicative active third person singular. How do you translate it? He has. Now you look to see if there's a nominative to be its subject. You know it has to be singular because your verb is singular. And sure enough, here's a nominative singular. Ha doulos, the slave. Now translate those two things together. The slave has. The slave has. That's the core of your sentence. Everything else in your sentence is going to hang somehow on that subject and verb. The slave has. What does he have? You're looking for a direct object. The direct object in Greek is in the accusative case. Do you see anything in the accusative? Sure enough, huion sophon. The slave has a wise son. The slave has a wise son. Let's try sentence 3. Ha tu doulou huios sophos ein. Ha tu doulou huios sophos ein. Find a verb. What word in there is the verb? Ein. Ein is the verb. We learned it as a vocabulary word. It means was. It's a verb. It needs a nominative to go with it, a subject. Is there a nominative? Yes, the huios. Ha huios. Oh dear, that's interesting, isn't it? Ha tu doulou huios. That ha is the nominative singular article, definite article, and it goes with huios. But there are some words between, right? Ha, the article, and huios, the noun. Those words are tu doulou. This is very common in Greek, that you'll have words that modify the noun coming between the article and the noun. But for now, we just want a nominative to go with our verb. We got it. Huios goes with the verb ein. So what's the skeleton of your sentence? Right? The son was. That's the skeleton of your sentence. Huios ein. The son was. Let's see if we can fit all the other words together with it. Ha tu doulou huios. Tu doulou. The slave. And what case is it? Genitive. How do we translate the genitive? Of. Of the slave. So ha doulou huios means the son of the slave. The son of the slave was ein, sophos. That's nominative singular, so we know that it goes with huios. The son of the slave was wise. Okay? Sentence 4. Lagus de sophus graphe. Lagus de sophus graphe. Look for the verb. Where's the verb? What word is the verb? Graphe. What kind of verb is it? This is called conjugating the verb, giving the form of the verb. It's called parsing the verb. It's graphe, it's present tense, indicative active, that's the only tense we've learned. We'll learn in the future, I suppose. Present, indicative active, third person singular. How do those endings go? O, ace, a, amen, eta, usen. O, ace, a, amen, eta, usi. Third person singular. So translate it. Graphe. He writes, or she writes. Is there a nominative to go with it in sentence 4? No. There is no nominative to go with it. That's okay. In Greek, you don't need a written subject. The subject is inside the ending of the verb. So graphe, he writes. What does he write? You're looking for a direct object. So you're looking for something in what case? What case is the direct object? Accusative. Do you have something in the accusative? Sure do. Lagus. He writes words. Sophus. He writes wise words. And that word de, what does that mean? That means and or but. But he writes wise words. Sentence 5. Uk eis tan pataman age tus hippus. Uk eis tan pataman age tus hippus. Where is the verb? What word has verb endings? Age. Age. What set of endings go with age? O, ace, a, amen, eta, usen. You see what I mean by you have to know those endings? You have to know how all those things go together. It is third person singular, present indicative active, so it means he leads or he drives. He leads. Is there anything in the nominative to go with it? No. Nothing in the nominative. No subject to go with it. That's okay. This means he leads. Now I'm looking for what he's leading. Do I see anything in the accusative? I see two things in the accusative. That might be my direct object. I see tan pataman, accusative singular, and I see tus hippus. Tus hippus. Now which one is my subject? Well, I could try both of them. He leads the river. He leads the horses. Well, he leads the horses sounds a little better, but why is tan pataman, the river? Why is that in the accusative? Well, what's in front of it? Ice, or ace, into, or toward. That takes the accusative. So another reason something might be in the accusative is because it's after a preposition that takes the accusative. So the skeleton of my sentence here is he leads the horses. Where does he lead them? Ice tan pataman, or ace tan pataman, into the river. Ah, but I have another word on the front, uk. He does not, uk means not. He does not lead the horses into the river. Sentence 6. Paies tus tu dulu huius. That's a question. That semicolon is a question mark. Paies tus tu dulu huius. What is the verb? Paies is the verb. It has those verb endings, o, ace, a, omen, eta, usen. Sometimes you'll hear me say usen instead of usi. I should explain that. Just as in English the word a is the same thing as the word an, you can add an n to the word a. Why would you do that? Well, right before a vowel. So you don't have to say a apple. You say an apple, an apple. So it flows together better. It's the same thing in Greek verb forms that end in that yoda will often sometimes take a nu, an n sound on the end. So o ace a amen eta usi or o ace a amen eta usen, either way. So so parse this verb. Present indicative active, second person singular. O ace, second person singular. So you strike. You strike. Nothing to go with it, no nominative to go with it. So you strike, what do you strike? Tus huius. You strike the sons. And again, we have the article tus and its noun huius separated by something that describes it. Tu dulu. Genitive singular. How do we translate the genitive? Of the slave. And it's a question, so do you strike the sons of the slave? Do you strike the sons of the slave? Sentence 7. Pempsamenda to anthropo hippus kalus. Pempsamenda to anthropo hippus kalus. Where is the verb? Pimpsamen. Pimpsamen. What tense is this? Future tense. It's from pempo. It's had a sigma added, so it's not pempo. Now it's pimps. Is the stem is not pemp, but pemps. Pimpsamen. That's my first person plural ending. So we shall send. What shall we send? We need a direct object. That's going to be in the accusative. Hippus kalus. Hippus kalus. We shall send good horses to anthropo. That's dative, indirect object. And we translated that in English with to. We shall send good horses to the man. And then de simply means but we shall send good horses to the man. Now a whole string of verbs here in sentence 8. Eketa, luamen, graphe, thususi, leipses, harpadze. And how are each of those translated? Well, you tell me. Eketa. What is that? Parse that verb. Present indicative active, second person plural. Y'all have. Luomen. Parse that verb. What set of endings does it come from? O, ace, a, amen, eta, usi. First person plural. Present indicative active. Graphe. What set of endings? O, ace, a, amen, eta, usi. Third person singular. He writes. Thususi. What set of endings? O, ace, a, amen, eta, usi. But what's on the stem? That sigma on the stem tells you you're dealing with the future indicative active. They will sacrifice. Leipses. Leipses. Got the sigma on the stem again. You know that it's from the verb leipo. And it's had a sigma added, so now it's leips. Leips, ace. You, singular. Second person singular. You will send. Harpaze. Harpaze. Third person singular. Present indicative active. He seizes. You can try this writing in Greek, if you like. It will certainly help you. On the other hand, it's another layer of stuff to do that's going to take you a long time. So that's bonus. If you're sailing along, you're having a good time in Greek, this is coming easily for you, go ahead and spend some time. It's like sentence 1, the sons of the slave were wise. The sons, hoi huioi, of the slave, tu dulu, were wise. Saphoi asan. If you want to do that, great. Knock yourself out. But I'm not going to go over those very often in this because I really view it as bonus work for those who are excelling. And those who are excelling can probably grade their own work. For those of you who are working every week to get done what needs to be done, I'm always going to go over the Greek to English translations just like I did today, walking you through them. That's it for Chapter 3. Study the endings. Study the vocabulary. Don't forget about your verbs and the vocabulary from Chapters 1 and 2, because those will also appear on the quiz. And when you're done with this, you're ready to go on to Lesson 4, which includes really not anything new besides vocabulary. That's why we're doing them all in the same week. So finish up with this, move on to Lesson 4.